Hello, normally I'd be wondering where time's gone since my last update, but even by my standards, the last 3 months have gone by in a complete blur. The first thing to talk about is the success that we had lobbying the government to cover the NHS pensions increase in England. I'm so thrilled that we managed to avert that. This, you'll remember, was really difficult news just before Christmas, that the employee contributions for the NHS pensions would go up from 14% to over 20%. Now, of course, we're still trying to find out what will happen in Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales, and we are still working hard to mitigate the effect of the NHS pay rises and to try to get some additional funding into the system. But I'm really pleased with this initial success, and we're working hard to make sure that hospice's funding is protected. Of course, this news couldn't have come at a better time because it's very challenging at the moment. We're facing year end and we're budgeting for the next year, and times are really tough. I'm getting phone calls on a daily basis from hospice chief execs and chairs who are concerned about the future and trying to look for new ways forward. I was also deeply concerned to hear about the case of Severn Hospice, who'd had their grant from Telford CCG cut by £250,000. This was not a response to the idea that fewer people were dying in the area or that there were other services who could accommodate those people. It seemed to be more a factor that the CCG was saying that Severn Hospice is a charity. The charity had had a discretionary grant for a long time, but they could no longer afford this level of discretionary funding. There was no understanding of the work that Severn Hospice provided or the impact on the overall health system. And we can't allow this to continue. We need this work to be fully funded because, as we know, demand is constantly rising. If you're worried about funding this year, then please do give us a call. As you know, Hospice UK runs a sustainability index, and we can give you an idea of where you sit, of the things that you might want to consider and discussions you may want to have with your board. As you know, the recent experience with St Clair's Hospice came up with some good tips and advice on matters that you might want to look at, and there are other ways in which we can help you as well, so please do pick up the phone. To put it bluntly, we're dying for change, which is why that's the strapline for our Hospice UK conference this year in November. We're going back to Liverpool. We're going to be expanding on the theme of evolution and revolution. There's going to be some fantastic content. We're going to be big, we're going to be bold, and we really want to see you there. So please keep an eye out for early bird registration and also for our call for content as well. We want to hear from you if you're doing great things at your local hospice, because we really need those practical suggestions to share. So why does this matter? Well, despite all the advances in medicine that we have and the fact that we're living longer and longer lives, the fact remains that one day all of us are going to die. We don't really have that social space in this country around death and dying. It can feel very lonely to be bereaved. And that's one of the reasons that we want to talk much more about death and dying. It also helps to take that fear away for people as well, to make sure that people can achieve their last wishes. And that really is the ethos of hospice care. So at Hospice UK, I'm absolutely delighted that we're the parent charity for Dying Matters. This year we're running from the 13th to the 19th of May, so please make sure you get involved. The theme is Are We Ready? And that can encapsulate so many different things. We're going to be having death cafes across the country, we're going to be having plays, theatres, art exhibitions. You can get involved in any way that works for your local community. I'm going to be going around the country and I'm going to be visiting as many events as possible. So if you'd like me to come along and attend, or a member of the Hospice UK team, please do let us know. But whatever you do, please do enjoy yourselves, and please do make sure that we're talking about death and dying. Speaking of big and bold, we were amazed at the response of our Open Up campaign this year. We had over 70 hospices taking part. I have to say, for me, the highlight was sitting on the BBC Breakfast sofa talking to Deborah James, who many of you will know from the You, Me and Big C podcast. Deborah has stage 4 bowel cancer, and she was frightened to go to her local hospice, which is Royal Trinity in Clapham. The hospice were able to show Deborah around, and she was able to speak to many patients and find out why the hospice services are invaluable to them. We talked a lot about hospice care, about opening up, about why it's relevant to people earlier, and that you mustn't be afraid to access hospice care. it was really great to have the opportunity to share these messages with the public, because ultimately, the longer we can have a relationship with people, the more we can help them to live longer and happier lives. The campaign will return in the year 2020, so please do keep an eye out for updates. We're determined to break down barriers to hospice care and make sure that it's available to everyone. In the meantime, if you'd like to go back and revisit anything we did, the Open Up website is still open and you can revisit lots of contents, including videos from our Hospice UK chairman, Robert Peston. What do I do now? That's the question that we hear most often from people with a terminal diagnosis or from their friends and families. At Hospice UK, we're committed to helping carers, and so during the Open Up campaign, we launched a new video called What Next, which helps to answer some of those questions. Please do take a look and share it widely. We also have a wider web channel called What is Hospice Care, and that has lots of resources, signposting people to their local hospice and explaining to them what to expect. Again, please do take a look, signposting using your social media channels. It's so helpful for people. We've had a hectic run through of spring conferences this year, from the retail conference, the trustee conference and the fundraising conference. I can't go into too much detail now, we simply don't have time. But if you want to go online on the Hospice UK website, you can see videos from these conferences and highlights from the retail awards. Also, please do have a look for our upcoming conferences. In June, we've got the ECLIP Clinical Conference, and in July, we've got our Communications Conference. All of these are absolutely invaluable, so please do check out the details and we'd love to see you there. So whilst it's been the busiest start to a year that I can remember during my time at Hospice UK, I couldn't be prouder to be part of the hospice movement. I'll be looking forward to my next update in June. I'm sure there'll be lots to tell you, but in the meantime, let's hope for some good weather, lots of good conferences, and I'll see you again soon.